All right, you guys. So, hello. Welcome back to my channel. And honestly, today I decided to do like a recap of like that basically the aftermath. Wait, what was the recap? Sorry, I wrote it in my notes. But basically so I heard a lot of tea about like what happened after Perfect Match. And I was like listening to this podcast and Tolu was talking about her relationships with Chris and Dom. And I basically wanted to touch on that and basically like explain like what I thought about this, like what Chris did to Tolu after the show ended, and also what Dom did to Tolu after the show ended. So anyways, we're gonna get right into it. But honestly, got to say, like, it was just so shocking to me just seeing like what went down after all the couples like separated. I might break this video into parts, like part one, part two, part three of like what happened after Perfect Match between Dom, Tolu, and Chris. But I'm gonna get right into it. So what first stuck out to me was that basically I was watching another girl and she was on her podcast and she was like, did the men on this show go to acting school? And I honestly, that kind of shook me right there. Cause I kind of feel like that all the men on this show, like, were trying to play a whole act. They were literally trying to play a whole act just to like stay in the house to get their paycheck. And even the girl on the podcast who was like on the Perfect Match season 2 was like saying like, yeah, like they probably just wanted their check. And it's just so true because the way how the men just ghosted their significant other after the show aired is kind of crazy to me. Like, I feel like that the only genuine people from like the men's side on the show was Izzy, Justin, Nigel, and then I think like, yeah, that's basically it. Like, it was just so insane to me how like all these men on most of the men on the show, they played a whole act. Like Harry, Brighton, you got Harry, Brighton, who else? Dom. I was shocked about that. And then Chris. Yo, so we're gonna get into Chris. Cause what Chris did shocked me. Like, I really thought that Chris was really genuine. And apparently he was the complete opposite after the show and behind the cameras. But anyway, so this girl's on a podcast. So like, did all the men from the show go to acting school? Like, they must have went to really good acting schools. And I agree with that. And I feel like that basically like the men on this show, if they really wanted to like play an act, be on TV, get their coin, y'all could do acting. Like, y'all could go on acting shows, y'all could go on scripted reality TV shows. Y'all do not have to go on dating shows for clout. Like, that's just my opinion. These men really did not have to play a whole act on this show, and it's just really kind of shocking to me because it's just like, y'all really were trying to play in women's faces like that. Like, Chris, like, Tolu really felt very played. I heard on a podcast, like, she felt so played. Like, and it's just crazy to me because it's like Chris, like, he really played the good guy act on this show. Like Trevor did. He played the good guy act on this show. So for him to like turn around and like switch up on Tolu and like they get into it after the show, it's kind of insane to me. So I have nothing else to say about that. We're gonna move on. Okay. So yeah, also like Perfect Match, it reminds me of how real men act in like real life. Like, a lot of these men are so inconsistent on this show, and it's like almost like, do men on Netflix who go on dating shows in general just act this way? And it just gives me secondhand embarrassment because it just reminds me of how men will act towards me, like when in terms of like friendships and stuff like that. Like, oh my god, like you will never know like what I went through when it came to like men in real life, in my defense. But it's like the men on these dating shows kind of act like bad men in real life. Like, just the way how like Kaz was like playing in Micah's face and like gaslighting her throughout the whole episode was kind of throughout like episodes was kind of crazy to me. Like, the way how Kaz would like gaslight her, Kaz would yell at her, Kaz would like go to other women, Kaz would basically lie to Micah and be like, yeah, like, I'm not gonna be with you, but actually no, I want to actually be with you. Like, he was playing the fields. He was like going to Micah, or then he was going to talking to other girls, flirting with Kaz gives me like flirty vibes, in my defense. Like, Kaz definitely gives me flirty vibes. Like, the way how he like played in Micah's face, like 1 minute you want to go see things out with Christine, then the next minute you want to go back to Micah. Like, it's kind of just like, which one is it? Like, what do you want? Kaz, and I felt like that Micah should have saw, like, yo, like, Kaz really does not like me like that. Let me go seek things out with Izzy. And the way how, like, I feel like that Kaz wasted a lot of people's time in this show. Like, just the way how he wasted so many people's time was just so crazy to me, because it's just like, who could ever do that? Like, who could ever do that on a dating show? I don't know. Like, well, that's how men are. But it's like, you also, Kaz is also playing the game, so I have to give him, like, brownie points for that. But it's just like the way, but like, you could have just told her the truth. You could have just been really, like, upfront with her from, like, the jump. You could have been upfront with her from the jump, and it could have been cool. You could have pursued things with Christine, Holly, or somebody else. Like, it was just like, and even Holly called him out and was like, yeah, like, you have a girl that actually loves you. But then, like, and then Britain jumped in and was just like, you mess with people's faces, which is kind of insane to me. And then, like, even on a podcast, I heard Micah was saying that, like, Kaz was, like, doing Kaz things. Kaz was doing Kaz things, and, like, he allegedly kissed another woman, and then he denied it. And then, like, she talked to the girl who, like, confirmed it and witnessed it. And then basically she was like, yeah, like, don't ever talk to me, like, you're dead to me. Like, that was wild to me. Like, I never knew he could really do something like that. Like, I don't know, like, in my terms, like, I was just like, I thought Kaz moved on. I thought Kaz and Micah were gonna make it work after the show. But the way how he, like, yo, it's just crazy how, like, these people get together on Perfect Match, and then they go their separate ways right after the show. So basically, it should be Perfect Lie. Like, no, not Perfect Match. Like, I don't know what it should be called, but this show should not be called Perfect Match. It's like, you're not really finding your match. You're kind of really in here for the money. And that's what I'm saying, is that all these men, they're trying to act a role in order to seem genuine on the show, and then go to the villa. And it's like, y'all weren't even getting anything big at the end. Like, y'all weren't getting, like, anything. Like, y'all weren't getting money in your pocket. All y'all was getting was, like, a paid vacation, and maybe y'all really wanted free vacation, but it's like, y'all really want to go on a vacation to someone that you're fake to? Like, that's just not right. Like, that's just not right. All right, I'm gonna get into the next part. Yeah, okay. I feel like that there's also, like, other ways to make money than just going on a dating show. There's, like, so many other ways. You men, all the men who went on the show for clout, y'all could have, like, done other stuff to make money, like OnlyFans. Y'all could have applied to, like, acting roles, go on a scripted reality show, go on other reality shows, or, like, I don't know, like, do something else. Like, do not come here and, like, play with these women's emotions on a dating show, because it's just, like, not worth it for you. It's not worth the time. It's not worth it for y'all. Like, even for anybody who wants to go on these dating shows, like, if y'all trying to hide an act, like, be smart with it. And I feel like that all these men acted dumb by just ghosting your significant other before y'all even went to the airport. Like, to me, that's just crazy, because it's just like, y'all get home and y'all don't want to talk to each other, or, like, y'all get home and you want to talk to your girlfriend that you hooked up with on a show. So it's like, y'all were just using this woman for, like, clout, like, screen time, like, or do you have another girl back at home? Like, please tell me now. Like, I feel like that we missed a lot from, like, Perfect Match. But yeah, also, like, I feel like that it's funny, because all these men, they did not really deserve love on this show. Like, all the men who went on this show, they did not deserve love. Like, nobody deserved love on this show. Like, the men who deserved love on the show didn't get any chance to to pursue anything with anybody. I even felt, and I said it in my other videos before, I even felt bad that Izzy and Jessica didn't even work out. Like, Izzy over here, like, trying to get his heart out, trying to, like, show love and support, and, like, trying to actually find a marriage, like, someone to marry on this show, and none of y'all taking him. So then y'all go to the other guys, but it's like, these guys are players. And I feel like that all these women on this show were attracted to players. Like, y'all were really attracted to players. And even, like, Tolu's in a podcast, like, yeah, like, Chris was, like, my only choice out of all the men. And I'm like, you could have went for Izzy, but then also, yeah, you and Izzy were kind of like a friendship, but y'all could have grown out of a friendship into a relationship to a marriage. Like, I don't know, like, that's what I take on it. But it's like, all the men who didn't deserve love on the show, got a chance to stay in the house. And it's like the men who did deserve love on the show, they were like gatekeep, like they were gatekeeps like the whole time. They were forced to go home. And it's just so unfair to me. Like, it's like the men who deserve love, they get played, and then the men who don't deserve love, they get a genuine connection from the woman. And it's like, y'all women are not seeing things right. Like, you guys are attracted to messy men. Y'all are attracted to messy men on these shows. And yes, I get like this show's for entertainment. It's kind of like, it is kind of for clout, and it is kind of for, it's like, you got all these women being fooled now, because it's like, oh, like, yeah, they think that this is going to be an opportunity to like win some money. And whole time, like, you're playing in their faces. I feel like whole time it's like you're playing in their faces. You're not really showing love to them. All you're really doing is just like kind of being like fake, like, and like, yeah, like you guys like trying to like be really authentic, or like maybe that like that person is just not your type. But it's like, say something from the jump. Like, say something from the jump. And I feel it's like I feel it's like all the villains on this show, like, and it's also crazy. It's like, I feel like that all the people who were supposed to be villains on the show, like including like most of the men, they got a good edit. And it's like the people who like actually were true to themselves, they be getting the worst edits. And I think that somebody said this on another dating show, like the people who like are like most genuine and like they're real, they get the worst edits. But the people who are like the people who fake things in a dating show, like they get the best edits. Like the fakers on these dating shows, they get the best edits. And it's kind of crazy to me, because it's just like, yeah, I from the jump, I already saw a red flag in Kaz. Dom, like when I was like, Dom and Tolu is not gonna work out. Cause like one minute he would be like saying, like she would be saying something, she would be more happy, energetic. The next minute he's like, yeah, okay. Like, he's just so quiet, and I feel like that he deserves somebody else. Anyways, I feel like that if anything, like Justin or Izzy deserved Tolu, because like they were really true to themselves. They were not here to play. Like, they were not here for the money, for the clout. They were actually here for love. They were really hopeful for love. And I feel like that Tolu, like, you could have picked Justin. Justin would have been all in for you. Justin would have been all in for a black woman. Like, I'm telling you, like, he got so fooled on this show. Like, he really got fooled on the show. And it's kind of crazy, because it's just like, okay, like Justin and Izzy were like the only, and then Izzy got left at the altar, and he come on another show, and he gets left there too. I felt so bad. It's just like the way how y'all be treating the people who deserve love is kind of crazy. But it's like, it's not y'all fault, but it's like, do better. Like, I don't know. But yeah, it was just weird to me how like Tolu, she didn't really pursue Izzy enough. And she didn't go to Justin. Like, Justin and her could have worked out perfectly fine. Justin was honest from the jump. Justin was genuine. He was genuine, honest from the jump. Like, he was willing to like pull all his cards out. He was actually ready for love. And then even Elise just dropped him, so he had to go home. And it's like, had Tolu just picked him in the beginning, like it would have been like a really good marriage. Like, we would have actually saw love for the first time. And she probably could have even could have got a free vacation. And it's like Chris, like, so Chris basically did all this for clout. Chris was just trying to stay in the house. Chris was just using Tolu to just stay in the house. And you even had women telling Tolu, like, don't trust Chris. I heard that Melinda was trying to tell her, like, yo, like, don't trust Chris. And she, like, still went with him. And, like, now it makes so much sense of why everyone was side-eyeing Chris and Tolu, but mostly Chris. And why Dominique was throwing shade at Chris, saying, like, hey, like, I got something to say about your man. Like, he is not all that. He's fake, like, he's playful, and it's true, like, I really, like, I was rooting for him. I was like, why didn't you win with Tolu? Like, y'all should have won. And then Chris gonna lie on social media and be like, yeah, like, you think that me and Tolu should have won? And you got people on the show, like, saying, like, no on his page. So it's like, did you use Tolu for clout? Like, did you really use Tolu for clout? And it's like, did you really need that fame? Did you really need a fame from a black woman that bad? And it's like, wow, like, the way how men play in these shows is kind of so strategic, but it's like not strategic enough. And it's just like, did you really go on the show for clout and like use her fame? But anyways, Yeah, like all the men came on the show for clout, and then all the women. So this is like you have all the women actually here for love, and then you got all the men on the show for clout. So it's like you got two sides. So it's like if you gonna go, if and like nine times, like 8 times out of 10, if you're gonna hook up with someone on the show, you're gonna hook up with the clout chaser. Like that is just so bad, and it's like, could y'all men actually be upfront? But it's like, okay, I get it. You don't want to get kicked out the house. So it's like you kind of have to play it fake in order to stay in the house for some money. And it's just, to me, it's just so like, yeah, no. So basically it's known to the fact that like most of the men went on the show for clout. They were basically using like dark skinned women to like be relevant to them as like for clout, and like an opportunity for them to stay in the villa, get their 15 minutes of fame, get some screen time. Meanwhile, Harry calling out Melinda for 15 minutes of fame, when it's like, Melinda, like, she was never here for fame. Harry, you were here for fame. And it's like, by you saying that, you kind of you thought that you could get people on your side by saying like, yeah, like she is here for fame. No, she's not. You are just like, why did you play with Jess' face like that? And it's like, you were obviously trying to stir up some drama. What else? So I feel like that they should do like a queer perfect match. I feel like if you have like a queer perfect match, it's woman and woman here for love. Like I feel like that women in general, they're like more here they're like here mainly to find love. Other than men, like I feel like that a lot of men on these Netflix shows, like they're not here for love. When I watch the Queer Ultimatum, like it's like woman to woman, they're both here for love. They're both trying to work towards the same thing, and the relationships work out at the end. Like I feel like that most women, like they're really here to find love on all these Netflix shows, and it's like the men, they're here to get their paycheck. Like they're trying to find ways to make rent money, and it's kind of crazy to me. Like I don't know. But yeah, they should do like a queer of perfect match, when it's just like girls just dating girls. Like it would just be so much better if it was like a queer perfect match. That's just a suggestion for Netflix, and it's just like woman dating woman, woman picking woman, and it's gonna, like, I feel like that if they had a queer perfect match, it would feel more genuine. Like it would just feel more genuine. So basically, when I first saw Dom and Tolu together, I thought they would really work. I thought they would really work out. Same with Chris and Tolu. Like I thought that Tolu would actually find love. I did not know like all this would just transpire. But I feel like that now I just got played by watching this show. Because it's just like, when I saw Tolu and Dom, it seemed genuine. I feel like that Dom was just saying what Tolu wanted to hear. And it's kind of just like weird to me. Like I feel like that people who pursue something with Tolu, they basically were just trying to like say what she wanted to hear. They were not actually genuine with her. When it came to the cameras, they would just say what she wanted to hear. If the camera's facing them, they wanted to like be like, yeah, I actually want to find love. I want to find love. Then when the cameras do not shine on them, it's like, oh, like I don't know if I don't know where my head is at. I'm kind of stressed out. So basically, I thought that like Tolu and Dom would work out, or Chris and Tolu would work out. And I feel like that the most genuine people on Perfect Match, they got the worst edit. I already said that. But I feel like that maybe the men were just here for like just to play the game and not to find love. And they really thought that like women would like the woman that they got was on the show would take it seriously, that like they were here just for the game, and like they would just be okay with that, when in reality it's gonna bite you back in the butt. So maybe this show is for clout and opportunities. I don't know, but I'm not really mad at it. Like, I mean, I kind of get it. Like, it's kind of a game. And also, I also heard that, like, when Dom was unsure about Tolu, like, Dom, he didn't really try for Alora, because Alora, I think, had just, like, walked into the villa. I heard some tea that, like, Dom, he wasn't really trying for Alora. Like, he kind of would just not really be honest with her. Like, he kind of would just like he just came to her last minute. He was flirting with her last minute, and therefore like Allura was like, no, like I don't want to get with you. And then he just went right back to Tolu, and it was just kind of just like, oh, okay. Like Tolu was just like trying to take it for like, oh yeah, like okay, like this is going somewhere. And in reality, he did a whole 180. Also, Dom was not trying to talk to Tolu as much. On the show, I heard that like Tolu would make Dom breakfast, and he would be like, oh, yeah, like I don't need breakfast. Like she would be like, oh, do you want me to make you breakfast? And he would be like, yeah, like I don't really want breakfast. Like I don't need breakfast. Like I'm good on breakfast. I don't need breakfast. Like food is fuel. I'm gonna just grab something and go. And she was like, okay. So like every single time Tolu would try to talk to him, like he wouldn't really look at her. He had very poor eye contact with her. Like every single time like Tolu would say something, he would just not want to talk. Like he would just kind of like just be annoyed by her. It just seemed like that Dom was just not trying. Like Dom was just stuck in his head and he wasn't really trying to say nothing to her. Like it was just really giving like he was just there to just be there. He was just there to like kind of fake it with her, lead her on basically, and hopefully she doesn't say nothing and then they could just float away towards the finale. But basically Dom was just trying to like use Tolu. Sorry, like this is background noise, but Dom was just trying to use Tolu for clout. Like literally, like nothing was genuine about them. Whoa, about him. Like every single time Dom would speak, it would just she would just like every single time Tolu would speak, he wouldn't engage with her nothing. Like he was just dry. It felt like that throughout the whole show with her, he was just dry. And it might be because of like what happened to him on season 1. Cause I didn't even watch season 1, but I heard that like he was very stressed out about him being back on the show, trying to find love again, and it just got to him and he just couldn't really like be his authentic self. Like he was just stressed about actually finding love on the show, and it's like, okay, you're right here, like the opportunity's here now, take this opportunity and actually find love again. Like dude, like he was thinking about the past, he would think about like how he went about things last season. Like I don't know, what is Dom okay? Like was something wrong with Dom? Like is Dom okay? I don't know. But basically, like also he would make side comments to Tolu. Like there was like a kissing challenge and like she like ranked Dom like very low in the kissing challenge, and then he like said behind the scenes like, so why'd you vote for me that low? And then she was like, well, did you try? And I'm like, yeah, like did you try? And then like Tolu was like, do you even want to be here? And even on the podcast people were just like, did he not know that he was on a reality show? And it's like, introverts do not need to be on reality shows. Like Dom is an introvert. Why on a reality show? If this is how you're gonna behave, you're not gonna really try to like talk, try to be extroverted and bubbly. Why did you go on this show? It's like people who are so introverted and to themselves do not go on reality shows, because you will get exposed if you're trying to under talk, if you're not trying to do too much. Like try to like reality TV is for people who are bubbly, energetic, like has a whole big side to them. Like do not go on a show if you're introverted, like you just want to stay to yourself, you want to stay home. Like it's like, make it make sense. So basically like Dom, he like what was I gonna say? Yeah, so like Dom, he would make side comments to Tolu, basically. Like so basically Dom was throwing shade at Tolu and she would just take it, and then she would like say like, so it obviously seems like you don't really like me. And Tolu even almost left the show because of Dom. Like it didn't really like, so basically Dom was throwing so much shade at Tolu, and she had a conversation with him, and then he would be like, yeah, like no, I want to pursue something. Like he would brainwash her into thinking like, yeah, like I do, like yeah, like Dom really does love me. So basically Dom was brainwashing her, but then so his words was not meeting his actions, basically. So basically his words would not align with his actions. And thank God she like turned around and pursued things with Chris. So yeah, he was not active on the show. I heard that Dom was not active on the show. Like he wasn't trying to do too much. He was so quiet, just reserved. And it's like, how are you friends with Harry then? If you're a guy who like don't try to be doing too much, you're just very quiet to yourself, like selfish, you want to just be to yourself. How are you friends with Harry then? Like how did you and Harry become friends? Because Harry is more energetic. At least Harry will be energetic and bubbly. So it's like, how are you friends with Harry when he's more energetic and bubbly? And it's like, you quiet. Like, how are you able to talk to someone like Harry who's more energetic than Tolu? And you ain't even trying to talk to Tolu like that. Like, it's kind of weird to me. But yeah. What else? He wasn't active on the show. And then like Dom and Tolu, they had a conversation with each other for 6 hours. And Tolu was trying to see like if Dom was really in the show for love. So Dom and Tolu, they had a whole 6 hour talk. I also heard about that. They had a whole 6 hour conversation about like what happened, what's going on, like what's happening between them, like just so much stuff. What else? Dom was like icing Tolu out. Like Dom would ice Tolu out. Like Dom was not trying to really talk to Tolu. He was trying to avoid her. Like basically like she kind of felt like that he was not getting anything from him. So he basically just didn't try. Like basically he don't like black women. He likes white women. And he probably wanted like a blonde. And I feel like that if Tolu even she watched Perfect Match season 1, if you knew that if you knew that Dom didn't like black women, why pursue for him? But then again, he also is really good at brainwashing people, so I really do not know. Cause I also heard that like Dom was like actually genuine with Tolu, and it's like okay, it makes sense that how Dom was actually trying to go for Alora, cause it's just like Alora, she is not the same skin tone as Tolu, so it's kind of just like, just say you don't like black women. Just say you don't like black women. So yeah. Yeah, so and even like Tolu felt like that Dom didn't even like him. I did not like there was that much beef between them, but basically Tolu did not feel like that Dom liked him at all. Like she just felt like that Dom was just really just distant towards her. And she would even ask him like, hey, like, do you actually like me? Like, do you actually like me? Do you actually love me? And it's kind of just sad how it's like how she had to ask for validation for Dom. It's kind of like Jimmy and Chelsea, when Chelsea would constantly be like, hey Jimmy, like, do you actually love me on Love Is Blind this recent season? It's kind of giving that. It's kind of just like like Tolu constantly had to ask for reassurance from Dom. And why didn't they should have just showed this? Should have shown this on the show. Like Perfect Match left out a lot of pieces that we needed to see. Like Perfect Match left out so much, like they missed so much from the show. But basically Tolu really thought that like Dom didn't really like him, and Dom would show that, like his actions would show that, but then his words would be like, no, like I do love you, like, but I just want you to find somebody else. So basically like, Dom, you're a gaslighter in a nice way. I don't know. But yeah. So yeah, Dom, he's stressed about being back on the show, and that's why he was listening from Tolu. And I feel like that Dom ruined it for Izzy. If Dom, and Tolu even said this, if Dom was honest from the jump, like, and said, yeah, like, look, I don't want to really pursue you, she could have went with Izzy, and that could have been a perfect couple. Cause it's just like, and then it's just like, Tolu even picked you because it's like Izzy was only friendly to her. So it's like she gave you a chance to redeem yourself and you ruined it. And it's like Izzy had to go home now. So it's kind of just like sucks for him. It's like he could have had somebody. He could have stayed in the house. He could have got free vacation, and you over here mess it up for him. Like, I don't know. That's insane from this. So it's like Dom was kind of ruining it for other men when it came to pursuing Tolu. And yeah, that's that. And it's also just like when men go on these dating shows, they have too many options. I feel like it's just like they get spoiled by the amount of women that they see on these shows. So it's like all these men have so many different options around them. Like they have so many different options to choose from. They have so many different people to choose from. It's just like you're gonna basically pick somebody who's not as like genuine to you. You're basically gonna like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird to me. It's like all these men that go on Perfect Match, they have way too many options. And that's how they would just be dropping women left and right, like just left and right. And it's kind of just shady to me. And the same with like some of the women on the show, like same with Elise, like she had too many options. Like I don't know, like it's kind of crazy to me. But yeah. Basically, Dom tried to go with Allura last minute. Yeah, so I already said that. Yeah, Tolu also. So now we're going on to Chris. So now it's known that basically Tolu almost went home because of Chris. So basically Tolu almost went home because of Chris. So now this is where like Tolu and Chris meet up. So Tolu sees things out with Chris, and she would notice some red flags about Chris, and that's where she almost went home, but she decides to stick it out with him. So basically Tolu ends up going home, and but instead she's trying to stick it out with Chris, and she's seeing all these red flags. People are even telling her about them, but she still decides to pursue things with Chris, and this is where things get rocky. So basically, yeah, Xanthi was trying to tell Tolu, I think that same day, like Chris wasn't, yeah, which I already said. What else? So yeah, then I heard that apparently that after the show ended, Chris was barely trying to stay in contact with Tolu, and he would take 3 days to respond. So basically, after the show aired, Tolu and Chris went to their respective states. Tolu went down to Texas, and Chris was back in LA. And Tolu would text Chris like, "Hey, like, what's up? Like, what we doing?" And he would take 3 days to respond, basically. So basically, Chris was not even trying to like pursue things further with Tolu. That's what it's giving. Chris wasn't even trying to pursue things with Tolu. It was just kind of weird to me. I don't know. But yeah, he would take 3 days to respond back to Tolu over one text message. Also, Chris was using Tolu for clout when the show aired, and he posted a video basically on Instagram with her. So basically, Chris was using Tolu for clout after the show aired, and Chris, I think, meets like Tolu at like this Love Island event or like just some event, and like Tolu, like she was just like, why is Chris here? Like she was kind of like kind of frustrated that like Chris was kind of here, and like his energy was just in like the same room as her. But then Chris was like, you know what, no, like Tolu, like, so you don't hate me anymore, like, no, Tolu, like, let's do a video together. So he did a video with Tolu at an event, and he posted it on Instagram to make it seem like that him and Tolu are together, and that like no drama happened between them. So basically, he posted on social media that like him and Tolu are together, and he basically uses that as clout while the show was airing. He wants it for screen time. He's using that for fame, for, I guess, I don't know, for money, sponsorships. And then Tolu comments on his Instagram, hey, like, take that down. Don't post that. Like, take that down right now, immediately. Do not post this. Don't post this. Take that down. Like, don't post this. And then he eventually deletes it, but it's kind of just like, you did all that. So you basically brainwashed her so that you could get clout off of her, off of a black woman too. That was so beyond shady to me of like what he did. So he basically was on the show for clout. He basically wants those views. He basically wants those likes. And it's like, are you that insecure that you need to go use a black woman for clout? Like, just be yourself. Be honest. Just be yourself. Tell your side of the story. Be yourself. Say you weren't upfront with her from the jump. Just be yourself. You don't got to use a black woman for clout. I don't know. And then, what else? Oh yeah, Chris. Sorry, that's background noise. But people are so loud. But anyways, Chris would. So basically, like, yeah. So basically, Chris was trying to make it seem like that her and Tolu during the show, but while the show was airing, we're on good terms. But anyways, Chris would like try to make up for Tolu by like constantly texting her. So basically, like, after like, so basically, I think eventually like Tolu calls Chris a piece of shit. Tolu sent Chris like this long paragraph saying like, hey, like, you're a piece of shit, like, you do not know what you want. So basically, like, Tolu sends a message to Chris going off on him, and then Chris tries to make up for it, and Chris is just constantly texting her after the show airs, and like Tolu was just ignoring the messages. So basically, like, Chris would constantly text Tolu like, hey, like, I'm sorry that I did this. Hey, like, Merry Christmas, Tolu. No response. Hey, like, this, like, hey, Tolu. No response. Or like when her show aired for The Trust, he texted her like, hey, like, I know you still hate me, but like, hey, good luck on the show. And it was just no response. So basically, like, Chris would blow up Tolu's phone after the show aired, after you just ghosted her like after the show. And it's like, okay, so now she has a big now she's trying to defend herself against you, and now you're trying to make up for it when you could have had that chance to redeem yourself and been on better terms with her. And it's like, okay, now you see that like she's going off on you, so you decide to go and text her nonstop to like try to make up for it. It's kind of just like you're playing two sides of the story. You're basically being two-faced. So yeah. Also, like, Chris kept on popping up everywhere Tolu would be. Everywhere Tolu would be, Chris would just be popping out. And like, I think one instance, like, Chris popped out at like a birthday party, and he couldn't even pronounce her name right. he would be like Tolu. He couldn't pronounce her name right. So it was just like he couldn't pronounce her name right. And then like one birthday party, he like came up to her and was like, "Hey, like how are you? Like how are you doing?" And she would be like hello, Christopher, like, and like yeah, like she would be nice to him and he would also be nice to him. But it's just like, do not try to play nice now when you just ghosted her after the show. So basically like Chris would pop out of everywhere where Tolu would be sometimes. And then like there was one instance like where they were both at a birthday party, and Chris asked, so yeah, sorry. Chris asked Tolu, so basically Tolu and Chris were at a birthday party, and Chris asked Tolu, "So what are we gonna do?" And basically what Chris was trying to do was trying to like make it seem like that her and Tolu were together before the show. So basically Chris wanted Tolu to fake being with him for clout on the show, so that he didn't look bad before the show and he didn't look bad during the show. Because it's just like, okay, if viewers see that like him and Tolu are not together, then they're like, hey, so like what did Chris do? Because a lot of times on dating shows, most people tend to take women's side. So he wanted to be with Tolu to make it seem like that they're together and like everything was all good and they could just get more screen time, and so that he could get more screen time with her. And then like and then basically Chris wanted to try to make it seem like that him and Tolu were together. So basically Chris was doing all this for followers, for clout, and Chris was afraid of looking like the bad guy. So he was trying to persuade Tolu to fake being with her for clout, and so that he could get a positive, he could get basically positive feedback from viewers on the show, which he kind of did get. And even I was for him at one point too. And it's like, now I heard that you played in this girl's face, and this whole time I thought you were a good man and you were a villain behind the scenes. Like I felt that more people need to know about this. But anyways, yeah. Before the show aired, so basically Chris wanted to use Tolu for followers, even though like he was not together with her. If you were still with her, like if you were still pursuing something with her, then fine. But the fact that like you wanted to like kind of use her for followers, for clout, it's giving very shady. And basically it seemed like that Netflix still did give Chris one of the best edits. They didn't show his bad side. They only showed his good side. And it's not fair. It's just like, okay, you're going to show all of Chris's bad side, but you're going to make Christine, who was genuine the whole season, a villain. So you're going to make Chris a good guy. But you're going to make Christine a villain, and she was genuine the whole show? Like that? So you basically make all the bad. So basically, and they did the same thing for Harry. Like, they made him look like a good guy. And then they made Jess look like a villain when they showed her like yelling at like Melinda. It's like, make the good people behind the scenes good people on the show, and make the bad people behind the scenes villains on the show. Like, make it make sense, Netflix. So basically, I think that they gave Chris one of the best edits in my defense. But yeah, that's all I have to say. So basically, that's kind of like all the tea that I heard of like what happened after the show between like Chris, Dom, and Tolu. Comment down below what y'all think. Comment down below like who should have gotten a villain edit based off of all this information. Do what you want with this tea, but basically like this is kind of shocking to me. This is just like my opinions on it and like what I think about this after like watching podcasts and everything like this. And then yeah, I think next video I'm gonna like do a recap of Dancing with the Devil, because that's actually a really good show that I liked. And what happened with like that whole family was kind of insane to me. Like, it was kind of very, very insane to me. But anyways, comment down below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and thank you. Bye.